welcome to our next edition of Youth Leading Conversations, and we have a good group with us today, and we're talking about parents and how we can come alongside and be in ministry and teaming with them for ministry. But the first thing we want to do is introduce everybody, and so we will start on my left with Laurel.
Hi, I'm Laurel with Asbury United Methodist in Pasadena, Texas.
Hi, I'm Chad McElvin, and I'm at Cedar Bayou Grace United Methodist Church in Baytown.
Derek.
I'm Derek Blackman. I'm the Director of Student Ministries at First Methodist Huntsville, Texas.
The new guy always gets that.
Yeah.
James, you want to say hi?
Hey, I'm James Burlow. I am the student minister at Silsbee United Methodist Church.
And I'm Russell Martin, and I'm youth director at Williams Memorial United Methodist Church in Texarkana. All right, so we're kind of jump right in and dive right in. We're talking this week about parents and how we can work alongside, work with them. What are some resources that we have that we can provide parents, and what are maybe some of the things that you have done as a youth group, either this youth group or you've heard other groups doing to help parents out? What are some of the challenges that you have had parents come to you and talk about? You don't have to be specific, but what are some of the general type things that parents are looking for answers to that when they come and talk to you?
I think one of my biggest challenges is they're not necessarily coming to me with issues, or coming to seek a biblical guide for how they're dealing with things. I think the culture, and I don't know about everyone else's churches, or if it's just a Pasadena thing, but it's kind of the church is responsible for spiritually educating my child, and I don't have to worry about it the rest of the week. We went to Sunday school, we went to church, and they went to youth group, and then we're done. So not having devotionals at home, not reading the Bible together, not creating that spiritual culture at home to begin with. That's a personal issue that I feel like I'm dealing with our group.
For my group, my parents come to me more so on, once again, not biblically based questions, more so is my child behaving? Is my child doing okay? We're getting new students, so the parents want to know how they're interacting with the other youth. But as far as biblically based things on answers to questions they may have, that didn't happen so much.
One thing, we'll have parents, and luckily they're passionate and they're wanting the best out of the ministry. But sometimes I think they end up comparing our ministry to other churches that they know in town, and they're saying, well, they're doing this. Do you think we could do this too? Do you think this and this? And so I have to always admire that they're willing to, they're wanting to see our youth ministry grow, and they're wanting to see it do well, and they're wanting their students to get a lot. But I always have to kind of tell them, it's just always difficult to tell them you can't compare. Yeah, because for all you know, people might be looking at our ministry going, man, look what they're doing. I mean, so I don't know. So I know that's something I've had to deal with when talking with parents, and just let them know that, you just can't compare, but it's still kind of a struggle because, they want to see things they want to see numbers grow, and they want to see other things happen. So, yeah.
What are some of the resources or things that you can do to help parents out?
I send them to the same book that I send new couples, maybe. I mean, like that is the 5 love languages, I believe is wrote by Peterson. But basically, it helps out not only me as a youth minister to figure out what helps communicate to the youth, but also as a parent, I can see that in my own kids, and other parents can see that in their kids, on what's their main love language. Their main love language and their secondary love language that helps someone communicate and gets feelings across, and the knowing that they love you or you love them across to them in the best way possible. It just opens up a whole different thought process on how to get that across that you love someone, whether it be a kid, a youth, coworker.
Small groups in Houston worked really good with adults that were dealing with the same thing. So when we had youth or children's ministry activities, they would go have their own small groups and they'd discuss the problems they're having in their own core. And we'd have like an associate minister or a church staff member in there. We never really had a young adult minister at that time. But up here in Silsbee, they have a classroom that's pretty much, or a class that's young adults is what they call themselves. And it's a class where at the beginning of their Sunday school class, they discuss the problems they're having all week or the problems they're having with their kids, and they discuss that for 5 or 10 minutes before getting into the Sunday school lesson. And so it's good to have your own peers talk about it. Like Russell said, I mean, I have a newborn. That's my first kid. I mean, I've been in children's ministry and youth ministry for 5-6 years now, but that's all we got.
One thing I do is I do send out weekly emails. I do just try to look at for websites and other things for helpful articles that could be appealing to parents, and sometimes it might be warning about some sort of an app or something on their phones, or other times it may just be just an article just talking about just what it means to go to church as a family and other stuff. And so I just share that with them, and I can't say I don't have like a flock of parents coming up to me saying, "Oh, I'm glad you shared that," but I don't know. It's just something I feel like maybe it might pique their interest, and just it's just a little something.
I've kind of started doing something similar. Of course, I've only been back now for a few months, but created a Facebook page just for parents. Although most of the youth are not on Facebook anyway. The page we did have, all the kids are on it, so I created a separate page that's just for parents. If we have, a mystery trip or something, I know I can put it on there, and the kids are, not linked to that. Same thing, shared some information about like a photo app that looks like a calculator, but it like stores the stuff secretly or whatever. Things in the news, that relate to the culture and what's going on that they may not have missed, or they may have missed and not seen. Just trying to provide useful resources. My goal is to utilize that in addition to some other forms of communication, to send out follow-ups to the lessons we do on Sunday nights with questions, interactions, ideas on how they can talk about further, whatever the topic was for that evening. Some discussion starters for dinner or, breakfast the next morning. Again, to really foster more communication on spiritual topics, and whether it be just a scripture passage they could read together with a few questions, or an actual rundown of what we talked about, and here's some ways to engage your child in that topic more this week or whatever. Again, I can't make them do it, but to at least provide the resources to them, get their gears turning on how they can start incorporating this kind of stuff on a weekly basis. And maybe they don't share it with their kids at first, but maybe they open it up and read it themselves, and baby steps start to doing that. So
I know Download Youth Ministry, I don't know if y'all are members of that, but they have a parent newsletter creator. It's a PDF. It creates a PDF. You type your information in, and you can put your own events and articles and stuff in. But it also has an articles section where it pulls stuff for parents and things. And so I have just played with it a little bit. I haven't actually done many of them, but I do know it pulls articles that are pertinent for parents. And so that's something that you can create, put some of your events in, and then email out or send out as a PDF or print it out for them or whatever. And so Download Ministry has a parent newsletter creator. How can we work with parents and view them? How can we view parents as allies, and how can we help them view us as allies, as opposed to the view of parents, youth ministries over here, and you take care of them, and that kind of view of youth ministry.
I think it's just important just to communicate well with them and just let them know that it's not a us and then you kind of a thing, but we're all in this together, because we all really want the best for their children, but really we cannot compete with the FaceTime and all the times that they spend with their parents. The parents are the number one influences in their lives. So I feel like I've just recently started looking into and kind of experiencing the whole Orange curriculum and Orange conference and everything. That's one thing they really stress, especially starting it with children's ministry, of just really getting letting parents in. And Laurel kind of, yeah, there you go. It's just a Facebook. That was their theme for this year. Now, I'm not going to say I'm all gung-ho about it just yet. Like some people, they go all out and decorate everything orange and orange everything. But it really stresses it with children's ministry. With youth ministry, it doesn't too much. With youth ministry, it really stresses families are still important, but it also says how as students are getting older and they're in high school or junior high and high school, they do need other influences. So like your Sunday school teachers, small group leaders, and build this relationship with that. But I could just imagine, if they grow up in the children's ministry, going through that, and just not afraid to talk about their faith with their parents. By the time they reach junior high and high school, they're not afraid of that anymore, and it just enhances it. So I don't know, it's something that worth kind of looking into, or just kind of something to kind of pique your interest. I think it's a good strategy.
I held this book up because we are looking at possibly doing a parenting, like a 4-week parenting seminar. I had a friend who is very, very Baptist, shared this video on her Facebook page one night, and it was basically a kid, and it showed them through the newborn stage into their playing in their bedroom to now they're trying to figure out what to wear for school to moving off to college. And it was basically telling you have such a limited time in each of these phases. What are you doing with that time that you have? Anyway, it was like a teaser for a parenting seminar. I tracked it down, and it was a Methodist church in Florida that was putting on this 4-week seminar. And so I reached out to them to find out if it was material, because I couldn't find anything online, if it was material they had been, created, or if it was something else. And she pointed me back to this book, which I haven't started reading yet. It's Just a Phase, So Don't Miss It. It's really geared towards church staff and church, ministries. But the concepts are what we're talking about here, which is equipping parents with the resources and the tools to help spiritually develop their students, starting, like Chad said, from little on, so that by the time they're getting into, well, I want to make a decision about this myself, and I'm, trying to be independent, that they have that solid foundation, not just from, the ministry at the church, but from their parents as well. I haven't started reading it yet, but all the research that I've done previously up to this point, I'm pretty excited to find out kind of what it has to say. I haven't bought into the whole orange thing yet either. This is actually my first introduction to them. I didn't know it was an orange product, but I'm pretty intrigued by it so far. And I think it hits on exactly what we're talking about here, which is equipping parents to be spiritual guides for their children, where the church becomes a partner in that, not the main element in that.
Well, I think that also touches on something of, a lot of times we've separated youth ministry from stuff, but is that youth and children, a lot of times, if we can work together, and it's not children, youth, that is, we have a lot of parents who, they're parents of, we have parents who are senior high, who have junior high, and who have third graders, and who have 4-year-olds. So if we can team with our children's ministries, bringing those ministries together, and not putting everybody in one room, but working together in either curriculum or scheduling or anything that we can do to help parents out. what is the biggest challenge that your youth ministry presents to parents? Do you have anything that your ministry does that you think almost maybe create a hindrance or make it difficult for parents? Something I thought about is scheduling and how we schedule. And like we have everybody together right now. Both of our times, 5:30, 7:30, Sundays, Wednesdays. One of the things that I have been dealing with or been questioning myself is we have every Sunday night, every Wednesday night. And is there a line between burnout and consistency? And so I've thought of everything from, do we split junior high and senior high? But if I do that, then I'm having parents come up, especially if they're not ninth graders and not driving yet. I have parents coming up to pick up kids at one time and bring them back, and they're already dropping off at 2 or 3 soccer practices and 2 or 3 basketball practices and such. Am I adding to that chaos, or am I assume that they already do it anyway, they'd be willing to do it, or do I lose students if I decide to split? So we've kept everything together, primarily for some of those reasons of I don't want parents being back and forth and back and forth.
Sometimes you do have to, I mean, when it comes to scheduling, I don't know about just on a weekly basis, but you do have to be mindful of, because there's just sometimes throughout the year, there are some events and some weekends and certain dates that you just can't argue with. I've read in some books saying, if your church is making changes and stuff because of Mother's Day, then that's a problem. You shouldn't be doing that. But at the same time, I mean, it's just a big reality that, it's just certain dates like Mother's Day or something, like they want to spend time with their families on that one day. Same thing with around the holidays. Sometimes it's just better just do we want to compete with their vacation? Do we want to compete with their family time around Thanksgiving? Like even if it's like several days before Thanksgiving, or no, it's just something you just have to be in prayer for, and just sometimes it's fine to take a day off and just tell them, hey, spend time with family, and maybe throughout the week still send words of encouragement to them. Or you do have to be mindful of that, of the culture and just the timing of the year.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up, and this is definitely not one of the funner what games are we doing or what's your plans for Christmas discussions, but I think it's an important one to have. So thank everybody for joining us for this week's conversation, and I hope you enjoyed it and enjoyed listening and enjoyed participating, and we'll see you next time.